This is the story of new beginnings. A new beginning for a huge area of the Kalahari Desert in South Africa. A new beginning for threatened Kalahari wildlife. And a new beginning for one of the world's predator experts, Gus van Dijk, new general manager of the newest and largest private wildlife reserve in southern Africa. Welcome to the Tswalu Kalahari Reserve. The word Tswalu means new beginning or rebirth in the local Setswana language. So this is the story of a born-again desert. The Tswalu Kalahari Reserve was carved out of failing farmland on the edge of the Kalahari Desert only a dozen years ago. Average rainfall less than 10 inches a year. The reserve is owned by the billionaire Oppenheimer family of gold and diamond fame. The family hired field biologist Gus van Dijk from the Pilanesberg National Park to return the land to its natural wild state, to restore the Kalahari to itself. When the farmers left here, their buildings disappeared with them. Barns and stables were replaced by some of the most luxurious and expensive wildlife lodges in all of Africa. Yet for all its huge size, Tswalu has room for only 30 guests, which makes it much more of a land conservation project than a business. Tswalu is a labor of love, not profit.
The intention is to return the Kalahari to itself. This is the most extraordinary place, 100,000 hectares here in the Northern Cape, and our intention is that it should be as nature intended. The Kalahari is a very special place. When you come here, it's more than just to see the animals, it's to refresh your soul and to feel nature at close hand, see animals in their natural habitat. And if we can contribute something to all of that and preserve a very special part of Africa, we will have done well.
As the Kalahari ecosystem is restored, indigenous animals and only indigenous animals are being brought back into Tswalu and released. Rare black-maned Kalahari lions are brought in from other reserves. They can survive in desert conditions that would kill other lions. This cheetah was imported but keeps trying to break out through the electric fence. So Gus wants to find it, tranquilize it, and swap it for a less adventurous animal from another reserve. Gus's 10-year-old daughter Savannah comes along for the adventure. But first, a quick and fatherly lesson on spiders.
If I thought it was going to hurt a lot, I wouldn't let him bite you. I wouldn't let you go and pick it up.
But it was still going to hurt.
Just a little though.
No, but then I don't want to pick it up.
That's the only way you learn.
No.
It's the only way you learn. You shouldn't pick things like that up, is to be stung or bitten once or twice.
No. I thought I was bitten by a scorpion.
We've picked up tracks of a cheetah that we've been looking for some time now. We want to catch this guy and swap him with another cheetah. We're going to be using a very safe drug to immobilize this cheetah if he gives us a shot. The only problem with us is to get close enough to dart him. They don't have very big muscle masses, they're very lean and bony. So we've got to be really sure and we've got to be really close to get a dart in. We've got his tracks, he has got a radio collar. Hopefully he stands for us. This is really an imperfect science. You have to really know the terrain to work out where he is. There's nothing on here that tells us 500 meters away or anything like that. You just have to just keep moving and try and triangulate, try and picture his direction from two different points, get a vision of where the cheetah's likely to be. The first problem is just to get a shot at the animal. You've got to be really careful that you don't hurt him when you dart him. Hopefully we can do this without traumatizing the animal too much, but it's really important that we catch him.
Where's his tail moving? There he's lying there.
Okay, we've got the cheetah sighted. I missed. As he stood up, I took a shot and I just went over his back. He was a little bit closer than I anticipated. We want to swap this animal out with another animal. So it's just as well we caught him. Okay, his breathing is good. Full of scars. Full of scars. This animal's been mauled quite badly. If you have a look at the injury on his leg, look on his chest here, lots of scratches. I wonder if he hasn't encountered a territorial cheetah here. This animal's been moving in between farms, and that's why we fitted him with a radio collar. But he's been so mobile, and as I mentioned, going through the farms, that he's probably been encountering a whole lot of other cheetahs. I don't know, Andrew.
So what do you think he's been fighting with another
He's been
male?
fighting. These are rake marks. Okay, I'm going to take this radio collar off because while we're transporting him, I don't want it to lie on his throat and influence his breathing. Savannah, you can come here, my girl. Hopefully we can get all these wounds tidied up and send him off to a place where he's going to be able to settle in a place where there's no other cheetahs.
Look all the bugs on him, Dad. What are they?
Flies.
Dad, how long has the collar been on?
About 4 months. Okay. Andrew, just get the tailgate. So we'll just put him on the tailgate for a sec. Down warm. Stand by. Just make sure he's... I think so.
Probably why he's trying
Furbles.
Probably why he's trying to get back. See his foot on his foot.
This guy's claws permanently out. Look at that. His running spikes. Just look how slender, very flexible. You see very little muscle masses for darting. We didn't want to dart him on the shoulders. This is his only real nice, meaty muscle for us to dart into. The cheetah's eyes is its principal form of finding prey, and so we've got to make sure they're well protected. So I'm just putting in some lubricants here. If we can just pick him up and lie him on here. Okay, we're keeping his back nice and straight, keeping his head up, and his nose clear. There we go. Wait till we get to the gates.
I wonder if we can
We're on the road now.
and sleep out.
I just gave him a intravenous dose, a very light dose. We're not quite ready. I still want to look at a couple of those injuries. We still want to get his crate ready, comfortable for him. So I've just had to knock him down a little bit for a little bit longer. Obviously, I want to keep his anesthesia or sedation as long as possible. It's no use him just getting stressed. It was intravenous, so we should see it already. You can see he's probably drifting.
Head first.
Bump.
Ek sê iemand klein is as.
Ons is easy post dit dan.
You can see why it's important to put some kind of bedding in here as he recovers. He's starting to paw and scratch, and if it was just on this mesh, it probably hurt his claws and dig in, so he needs to just work that drug through. You can see all the spots where there's purple, there's places where we've sprayed wounds. The wounds even went into his ear, if you have a look there. See his breathing's getting faster and faster. I think he's okay. Let's close his eyes.
Where's the water, Dad?
I will give him some later. We'll just pick it up and slide it in.
The African wild dog is the most endangered predator in all of southern Africa. Farmers call the dogs vermin, blame them with excellent reason for killing livestock, kill them whenever they can. Gus van Dijk sees a very different wild dog. He values it as an original and essential part of the Kalahari and swallow ecosystem. So he's gathered together individual wild dogs and put them in a holding pen to acclimatize to the desert and to learn to respect swallows' electric fences. Like dogs everywhere, they formed a pack. And soon, Gus will release the pack into the reserve.
This is the first pack of wild dogs that swallows had. But we've got such a vast area that's available for conservation. We've made it a priority to try and get some back in. So we've reintroduced this pack, and now for the next couple of months we're going to just keep an eye on them and see how they fare in the Kalahari. Just have a look at the muscle mass of these guys. They can run forever, but virtually no muscles, and very flaccid as well. Incredible. This is there's a small pack that's about to be released. We're going to be fitting 2 radio collars. It's the most effective way of keeping up with them. Obviously, once they're released, we want to know where they're going. So, one for the girl and one for the boy. Wild dogs are notoriously bad anesthetic animals. They do shut down their breathing and the pulse gets very weak. Thanks. Let's just check that for a fit. Can she get her mouth in? I think that's okay. What do you think, a bit loose?
You could go a little tighter.
All right. It's important to get a good fit on the collar. If it's too loose, it's going to knock her around, and she could get her jaw tucked in underneath it, something like this. Get her jaw in there. And if it's too tight, obviously, it's going to compromise her. Okay, how's her breathing, Scoffer?
Very faint, eh?
How's it? Okay, let's just check her.
Very faint.
I'll check her capillary refill here. Fine. Yes. We're just checking on her circulation here. We want to make sure that she's well oxygenated and that the refill, the capillary refill is good there, that the color returns quickly to her gums. Though she's quite deep, huh? Yeah, okay. Yeah, there's a heartbeat.
Even tell me I don't have the breath of life in me.
She says not another one of those with that breath.
I stuck the tongue in my mouth, jumped up and ran away.
Okay. What do you think?
No, that's not a fish. No, he's going to jump up.
How's his pulse?
It's perfect. No, he's perfect, this way. Okay, just get everybody this side.
He's running like a dog that's been hit by an electric fence. Look at that. Beautiful on the run, eh?
And you know those dogs will come and tear you up into pieces. You look like food.
That does a dog coming to us. That is very close.
That was close, and you look just like food. You must get back on the truck. Come on. Come. The dogs are getting really excited. We've habituated them to a whistle. It's like a Pavlovian response, a response that when they hear the whistle, they know there's food. That's going to allow us to find them once they're running around on Swalu. That's important for our management, apart from the radio collars if we need to get close to do vaccinations or just to make sure that the pack's still functioning. The interesting thing is going to be they've been taught the hard way to respect the electric fence. And let's see if they have the courage to cross a line that's been there for a while. They've been in here for about 2 months. They'll see us tied off over there. We're going to tie it off on a tree. Let's go, Morgan. Let's go slowly forward. Okay, you want to tie it off? We're just tying it off over here. You can see one of the braver animals has already come out. Have a look, they're just getting ready to cross the line now, but just putting their nose where that imaginary line was before. That's great, here they come. Okay, they're all out, that's great. I'm actually surprised at how fast they came out of the boma. That's not typical. Often they take a while to come out. This is great. You can see 3 females running around the outside. The males are far more relaxed. They've been in here a lot longer. The females came from an area a lot further away. Still very shy. They're not sure what's going on. I think hunger will get the better of them. There we go. One of them is in. You must also remember that they've been tormented by lions and spotted hyenas while they've been in this area. So they're going to be quite wily of them as well. They're in a whole new environment. You can expect them to be quite shy. In a wild dog pack, there's very often one animal that bears the brunt of aggression. And whenever there's some kind of conflict situation or if there's some tension within the pack, he's often the guy that gets beaten up and mauled, and you can see him on the wings waiting for a gap. I think that's the origin of the word underdog. Very often the most hungry dog in the pack. We stored this animal in a freezer for a while, and the defrosting process has taken a little longer than we anticipated, so I'd be surprised if the dogs are walking around with like an ice cream headache. It's making them take much smaller bites. There's the old saying that there's no such thing as a free lunch. They've been getting free lunches for quite a while, and now they have to share the springbuck with lions, hyenas, leopards, cheetahs. These wild dogs have had their last free lunch. From here on, they got to work for it. Right on top there, the wild dog pack is denned down. We don't know how many pups are in there. We're waiting to see just what emerges. It'll take 6 to 8 weeks before we know truly what's going on. We don't want to go and disturb the pack up there. The pack come down every day. They leave mom up there with the puppies. They make their kill, and they take food back to the den. Very interestingly, once the pups leave the den and they start heading out with the adults, when those adults make a kill, it'll be the puppies that eat first, which is quite a strong contrast to a lot of other predators where there's just, like lions, where there's a lot of squabbling over the kills. In the wild dog pack, puppies will eat their fill, adults will follow afterwards.
For centuries, herds of magnificent antelope roamed this part of the Kalahari. Most ended up in farmers' cooking pots, so new antelope had to be brought in, and the inevitable new problems solved. Today, Gus's mission to restore the Kalahari to itself includes trying to stop antelope bulls from killing their own sons.
In these camps, these sable get fed lucerne and a sort of a mineral supplement every day, so they're in a routine. What we're doing here is we're going to feed them, and they'll come down and eat as soon as there's some food being put out. We get them into a controlled area, dart the youngsters just past weaning, and move them into a new camp. That prevents the youngsters being killed by the bulls. The bulls get possessive over their females, and as soon as they see their sons growing up, they start killing them. So we want to get them out early, give them room, put them into a new system. You or me?
You can take the right one off the front.
Whenever you're ready.
1, 2, 3.
Those darts were both good. You happy?
Yeah.
Once they're weaned, we introduce them into the greater Tswalu, or sell them as an income generation for the reserve. This animal's doing well. You can see we're just waiting for a recovery vehicle to come pick it up. Head's off the ground. It's not fighting, so we just let it sit quietly here. These are roan antelope, one of the rarest animals in South Africa. Their rarity makes them a very valuable animal, both from an economic point of view, and also has an important conservation aspect to this animal because there are so few of them in the wild in South Africa. Stalking with an off-road vehicle like this is not an easy job, but what we're trying to do is get as close as we can without upsetting the animals. We need to get within about 50 feet of them. I didn't lead enough, I led about 6 inches for wind. It's a nice, cool, windy day. They're also a little bit sporty, running around, having a bit of fun. They're looking at us a little bit suspiciously. Dart's quite good. Bit of windage coming across. Roans are a fairly big target. But see, that's quite a big projectile that's going to be deflected by bits of grass and wind, leaves and things. Are you going? Good. That's not bad, Shadow. That was a good shot.
Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Good shot. Okay, you got one coming in. Okay.
You can take the right one off the left one.
Now.
Yep.
Good shot. What is that? 7? 8. It's not a perfect science, but I think that we're doing all right. One of the benefits of running an operation like this in the Kalahari Sands is that this is an area that's not particularly prone to diseases and parasites and things. So these animals do really well and they don't accumulate a lot of parasites. Okay. Kom, draai hom dat hy so wys, né? As hy weggaan. Okay. Okay. The trade-off though is that sands are not an ideal substrate for them, and over time those hooves do get long and then you have to trim them back. Dat hy What we're doing here is here in the soft Kalahari sand. These animals don't get the opportunity to wear the hooves down. So you find they tend to elongate. So if we have an opportunity like this to trim them back, take the sharp edges off, reuse it. Once they move around and around the troughs, you'll see there is rocks. And so I'll have the opportunity to wear them, but over time they are going to get long.
This is a antidote to the drug. It'll reverse the effects of most of the drugs that were used in this combination. One or two of the drugs will remain active for a little while, and it'll take a while to wear off those, but he should stand up fairly soon. As soon as he's picking his head up on his own, we'll take the eye cover off. Okay. Look at those massive ears. You wouldn't believe that here in the Kalahari that temperatures can get really cold, but it does happen. And sometimes the animals even get frostbite on the tips of these ears for them. It's quite sad because this is a real feature of our own antelope, is these gorgeous pixie-like ears with the tufts. But this guy obviously hasn't had a cold night out in the Kalahari yet. He's looking good.
Quite fortunately, we're probably the first people on this road this morning. We've seen that one of the little sable heifers has got out. A new camp that we moved her into yesterday. Fortunately, she hasn't been knocked over in the night, so we're just going to try and herd her back in through a gate. If we don't get that right, we'll just have to redart her again. Okay, just go past slowly, and then block the other road.
Okay.
So that we've got just a bit of a funnel that we can move them in through the gate. Okay. I think obviously we're just going to have to keep an eye.
Are you going to try and yuck it in? Or
We're rather going to try and herd it.
Okay.
If we don't, then we'll dart it.
All right.
Go.
They mustn't put too much pressure on it, just give it a chance to look for the hole there.
Yeah, it's turning around and coming back.
Gone past.
Stand by. Yeah, can the other guys bring her back? I'm going to let them bring her back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, wait. We're going to have to accept that she's not going to go in that gate. So I think you must come and dart her. Okay, she's just getting more and more anxious. We've got a really unfortunate situation here. We've got poles, we've got bushes right near the gate that we're trying to herd her into. She doesn't trust it, and so she's not going to go in. She'd rather bang herself up against the fence. We're just going to rather dart her, otherwise we'd stand the risk of hurting her.
Stop.
She turned at a critical time, and when she came back we had to push her a little bit to turn around, and that's a bit of bad luck. But she's not panicking, she's quite relaxed, which is always a good sign. Here's my bucky and sable into the sunset.
Have a shot through the fence. Got it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've managed to get a dart into her. They're just going to try and push her gently down here, even with the dart in her, so she doesn't have to travel too far.
And then another shot.
What's your head there? She's kicking quite a bit. She's fighting us. She's not going to give us a go.
I just didn't think, I think it's quite tight.
We can cut it, Justin, come and fix it now.
I wonder if we shouldn't drag her through.
We can, I just didn't think, I think it's
I
quite
think we can drag her under that.
I'm worried she's going to bail from the back of the
Should we dig? There's a spade on the back of my truck.
back. She's going to slide it on. Ready? With this side. No, don't even worry about it. Hold her head now. Okay. Go.
Okay, watch her head. Okay.
Okay, she needs to.
Just lie the head under.
You got your reversal. Slip her. We're obviously going to have to put a team onto this fence and see where she got out. Let's hope it's not a habit she's getting into.
Don't do that again.
There are fewer than 12,000 white rhinoceroses left alive in the world. Gus gets word that a white rhino calf has been gored while trying to save its best friend from a lusty rhino bull. He has to try to save the calf.
Andrew, how old's this animal in front of us? Is it a cow?
Yeah, but this is not a calf, Gus.
Yeah, no, she's probably too young, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
These two joined up when their mothers had calves. These two joined up with each other.
Okay. I think what we're going to have to do here is just push her off. Let's just see how she responds. Her nerve will probably break.
And if it doesn't, Gus?
Well, if we just push it and just stand by to put your foot flat.
Just hold doggy to the
Go.
Come on, boy. Okay. Place her, Andrew, place her. Okay, Andrew, turn back in there. Guys, stop. Okay, Andrew. Keep the engine running. Keep the engine running. Well, this is fun. You see lots of injuries here. Come on, let's try. Oh boy. Really bad. Okay, besering sê hier in die liste. Guys. You can actually smell rotten meat. It's got an injury here. Just bring me a glove quickly. Tell it, switch off.
No.
Keep the engine running.
Ek dink ons sal dalk hier die renoster van red. I feel it, but I think it's in this joint.
Just the way it's bending, it doesn't look right.
No, yeah, that's it. Yeah, there it is, yeah.
If you look here, I mean, I can't see. It smells terrible.
It's definitely rotten.
Okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe we'll see what we can do. Draai hom weer om op sy sterk.
In spite of a massive dose of antibiotics, by dawn the next day, the rhino calf is dead. This is a black rhinoceros, even more threatened than the white. In recent years, the number of black rhinos has decreased by 97%. Poachers kill them for their horns, used as dagger handles and ground up as aphrodisiacs. Today, there are fewer than 4,000 black rhino left alive. Some 30 of them, the almost extinct Kalahari desert black rhino, find shelter here in Swalu. But with so few of the animals left, there's a real danger of the survivors inbreeding, weakening the stock. To avoid that, the few wildlife reserves that have Kalahari black rhino regularly tranquilize and exchange their bulls. But first, the bulls have to be caught, and they don't always cooperate.
The trick is here to try and get cover over the animal's eyes as soon as possible. Once he's in the dark, he's going to stop walking. They also try and put a rope around his back legs. Okay, see, here comes the rope in. They're going to rope his back leg. Once they've got him to stop walking, there goes the eye cover. Eye cover's on, and you should slow down once that's on. The rope's going on the back leg. You don't want to pull too hard on his back leg. They'll be quite gentle. Here comes the rope again, obviously slipped off his back leg. Okay, there we go, nicely on his side. They'll try and get his eyes covered again. Still, the capture team swarms around him. They'll need to cool him down and then line him up for loading onto a truck. You'll notice that they've put the animal into shade. The sun's getting a bit hot and the animal's run some distance. And the only real danger to this animal is heat. He's in good veterinary hands, but they have to just watch the heat. And so they'll keep him as cool as possible. There they're starting on getting rid of the tip of the horn. The reason they're cutting the horn off here is that they don't want a sharp horn inside the crate. It tends to get into cracks and things, and he can easily snap it off within the crate. And also if he's released onto a new reserve and he's a bit unsure and tries to assert himself, that he doesn't skewer any of the rhinos on the other side. So there's a few reasons for taking this off. We'll go and weigh and measure this and put it away for safekeeping. It's incredible to believe that this is what has led to the virtual extermination of rhinos across Africa, indeed the rhinos across the planet. Just that little piece of compressed hair. They drop a transmitter down that hole and seal it, so when they release him on the other side, they're going to track him. He's just going to seal off the holes and fill it up with dental acrylic. The acrylic should keep it in there for 3 or 4 years until it'll ultimately fall out. Twalu is a population of the very rare and endangered desert black rhino. Unfortunately, this is a very small population, as are all the other populations in South Africa. So together with the National Parks Board, we are swapping and moving rhinos around. And by moving the males around, what we're doing is spreading the genes throughout that population. And we're talking of a population here that has been reduced to no more than a few dozen. It's really an investment in the future of the rhino population. What we've got is a notch going into this rhino's ear. It'll have a notch in each side. These notches are unique to every rhino on the property. By notching like this, we can keep track of individuals. And in a population as important as this black rhino, it's critically important that we're able to study the whole family tree, the stud book, as it were, of the animal. And by doing that, we need to know individuals. They're just preparing him to stand up. He's been lying on his side for a while, and just in case he's got a bit stiff in the leg, they don't want him to be limp in one of his legs. You'll see there's a rope around the head. That's the critical rope, because that rope is going to lead him into the crate. And they'll prod him a little bit and keep him moving. The whole idea here is that he gets up and walks forward in one movement. Once they've positioned him right, the vet will give him a partial antidote, or partial reversal, and that'll bring him slowly out of his anesthesia. Obviously, this is the most critical time of the whole capture. We need to load him up in one piece without him getting hurt, and as importantly, without any of the staff getting hurt. So it's a very fine line between sleep and awake with these rhinos. And it takes a lot of experience from good vets to be able to wake them up just to the right level. Once he's in the crate, then they can wake him up even more. The more awake he is, the less hazards there are associated with the anesthesia. See, they're rocking him backwards and forwards just to make sure that there's good blood flow to his limbs. So that he doesn't get lame quickly, because they quickly would get lame. All that weight lying on his limbs. You'll see they'll prod him on his feet. A little shock on his feet, just enough to stimulate him to get up onto his feet in one movement. Okay, he's up on his front legs. Gave him some drugs which wake him up in stages, just a little bit at a time. There is the option with the drug combination they're using to wake him up immediately. But obviously when you're working with a black rhino, you don't want him to be too awake. So they're bringing him up very slowly, bringing him out of the narcotics, letting him wake up gently so that the staff have a bit of control over him. You notice his eyes are covered, he'll be a bit disillusioned, but they'll ease him into the crate from the front.
Push at the back.
That's just a textbook loading. Obviously a very critical time, quite dangerous, but now that he's in, they'll be able to wake him up a little bit more again so that he doesn't fall down and injure himself. You can see how easily things could go terribly wrong there if the ropes aren't in the right place and people don't pull at the right time. But in a well-schooled capture team like this, there's no doubt. Okay, they've just finished weighing him. This rhino weighed 1,139 kilos. That's a massive animal to be moved around. You see we need some really heavy-duty machinery. Very fortunately, the South African national parks have all the right equipment to do this job. Tswalu has the area and the animals, and so it's a great team. It's great that we are able to swap and move animals between these populations. Without that expertise and technology, the conservation efforts and the efforts to bring these rhino numbers up would be lost.
Okay, it's up, Vicky.
Gus van Dijk knows that he and Nicky Oppenheimer haven't yet kept their promise to restore the Kalahari to itself. But they're determined that the land, the ecosystem, can be nursed back to health. Already, in only a dozen years, good rains and the return of indigenous Kalahari animals have helped restore some balance. Great stretches of what was once bare, parched wasteland are changing to sweet grassland. Every day the land becomes more and more, in Oppenheimer's words, as nature intended. The change is already enough to deserve and justify the name Tswalu, which, you may remember, means new beginning, rebirth.